CreatiVity, episode 106, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. And your host, before we go on, this is a spoiler-filled review. He goes step by step over the whole goddamn thing. Anyway, if you like spoilers, listen. If you've already watched it, listen. If you haven't watched it, you don't like spoilers, I don't want to deal with the emails. So just come back after you've watched the Suicide Squad. Something tells me you'll enjoy it. Anyway, here's our host, Mr. V.
Well, thank you, Biff.
You're welcome, sir.
Anyway, let's get on with the show here. Okay, so The Suicide Squad, written and directed by James Gunn. Now, this is kind of like a soft reboot of sorts. The entire old team is not back. Some of them are. Again, this is a spoiler-filled review. And it seems that James Gunn has redeemed himself, but he still supports the cancel culture stuff. What the fuck is that? I don't get. Anyway, this is a fun movie. I really, really enjoyed this movie. Like, I haven't enjoyed it in a long time. There was no woke messaging. There was no, and here's the thing with this kind of stuff. People are like, oh, you got to put that in. It's already in there. It's what it is. Anyway, and you just don't point at it. You just have good characters and good actors who play the characters. Anyway, so we're going to start off here with the James Gunn Suicide Squad. But first, we have a couple of things we have to cover. See you in a second.
This podcast is sponsored by VaudevillePress.com. Our world, your stage.
Okay, so please click and subscribe if you have the time, or if you like this podcast and you find it at least entertaining, even if I annoy you, and even more so if you laugh or, God forbid, think. Or you can click the link below and buy me a cup of coffee. You can buy me even up to 5 cups of coffee at one time. Or you can subscribe on a monthly basis and get some goodies that come directly from me in the show. Anyway, so we're going to move on here to The Suicide Squad.
I see you got some notes there, Mr. V.
Yeah, Biff, I took a couple of notes here.
Okay. And how many pages is a couple of notes?
22?
Right. Are your notes as long as the damn movie?
No, it's actually a 2-hour runtime. 2 hours and 12 minutes with credits. 2:02 actual runtime with a mid credits scene and then a post credits scene as well. So don't leave before that, or don't turn it off before you've watched it all the way to the very end. But the opening, it beckons back to the films I was raised on in the 60s and 70s, the ensembles, that of like Magnificent Seven, The Dirty Dozen, add in a little bit of dash or two of James Bond, or maybe it's a Mad, 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 Mad World for outlandishness. The tone is already set as the Warner Brothers logo comes up, and you see the suicide plane lift off Harrier style from the back lot at Warner Brothers. And of course, the legendary Johnny Cash and his Folsom Prison Blues live is playing as it sets the scene for the movie. Right away, you're already hooked in. Let's go. Who doesn't love Johnny Cash? And who doesn't love the Suicide Squad when it's done correctly? Now, the last Suicide film, after seeing what they did to Zack Snyder's Justice League, I'm assuming that they butchered that. That's why they want the Ayers cut. But, studios, sometimes you got to just back off and let the people who are making the film make the film. I know the writers are bothersome, the actors are bothersome, geez. Should just be all suits with a bunch of people just exchanging checks and stuff, because, everyone else who creates the shit, what the fuck do they know? Anyway. So it opens up and we see Savant, and that's played by Michael Rooker, who was bouncing a racquetball up and down, catching it in his hand. in an isolated outside cement cell before using a nice combination shot, bouncing off, several walls before killing this bird. And, there's, the ball rolls back to him and it's covered in blood. And he basically just wipes it off on his pant leg. Then enter Amanda Waller and her bullshit directive. Savant basically jumps out, and the next thing we see is Savant jumping out of the back of a Humvee with squad leader Rick Flag. Task Force X is assembling. They do this slow-mo shot that's pretty funny as they walk into the lens, kind of like, what was it, not A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. Was it? Oh, The Right Stuff. That slow-mo walk that everyone's used in every action film. But they make fun of it as they have a huge American flag behind them as they walk into the lens. Then we get the lowdown on the team by Rick Flag, a holdover from the first film. We have Captain Boomerang, Mongol, Javelin, TDK, Weasel, and at last, Harley Quinn, who, of course, jokes about, sorry she was late, she was basically taking a crap. Waller's staff starts, is taking the bets back in the plane. A little shit-giving is going on pre-mission and bantered about. Harley makes a joke about basically how Americans love accent because we ain't got none. So they land, or they don't land. They get to the island, the Court of Maltese, and they basically jump out of the Harrier plane, or whatever the plane is called. I'm not going to do that much research on it. But anyway, so they jump out of the plane into the water, and they swim in, like we've seen in a bunch of movies, James Bond, war movies, etc. And, it seems that no one checked to see if the Weasel knew how to swim. So right in the first opening scene of pre-action, Weasel dies. And basically Savant he brings him into the shore, and he says, "The Weasel is dead. I repeat, the Weasel is dead." Pretty funny. Anyway, so Blackguard immediately betrays the squad, jumps up on the beachhead, hands up in the air, and is announcing his betrayal, basically. Seems the entire military showed up, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on? I'm the guy who called you. I'm the guy to..." Next thing you know, his face gets blown off, and he falls face first into the sand. So within minutes of the film, we have multiple deaths here of Suicide Squad nature. Now, what has always made the Suicide Squad comics really good, or at least, at some point, you got to have stakes. The first one didn't have stakes. The first one was just so disjointed. You have to have people basically dying because it's a do-or-die situation, and most likely if you do, you're going to die anyway or get betrayed and then die again. And so it's good to see that, they're embracing that part of it. And James Gunn, of course, is a big comic book geek, as you can tell. He's got some inside jokes here from Marvel from what I've seen on a couple of YouTuber videos, but who knows if that's self-inflicted or they're just, he probably did. But anyway, so chaos ensues, and as no one follows the plan, of course, because they're all villains, and why listen? And that's why they get caught and they're in jail, because they don't have the best plan. So they dispatch the detachable kid, played by Nathan Fillion, who has the stupidest superpower I've ever heard of. So his arms detach and they fly around. So they're just basically flying through the air, slapping and annoying the military troops that are there. It's like, so just floating arms, just flying and slapping people. It's kind of stupid. But, it's off-putting. I'll tell you that much. And we as the audience are even going, we had the same reaction as Harley Quinn. She's, her reaction was, "What the fuck?" She asked that to I think she asked, who did she ask that to? Anyway. So then Mongo, who's, she's connected to the Superman comics. Anyway, so she's in there. So then she goes for the hero moment. Okay, so she does the slow motion jump and grabs onto the side rail of the helicopter, like we've seen in a bunch of movies, and of course in this one, because Suicide Squad. Next thing you know, the helicopter loses its balance, quote unquote. The rotor starts clipping out all the trees, and the next thing you know, it's killing soldiers left and right. And it basically spins out of control, killing all aboard. We think that she's dead, and eventually it takes out the beloved Boomerang, played by Courtney. I can't believe I forgot his name. Yeah, played by Jai Courtney. I don't know, whatever his name is. He was just in another movie I watched with Kate Beckinsale. He played a smarmy dick in there, but that was pretty good. He wasn't in the movie for long, but at least he didn't. It wasn't a paycheck. Well, it could have been a paycheck film, but he did his job in there. Anyway. So Savant is looking around as all this is going on. He's still down by the beach looking around. And a detachable kid's limbs get shot up. And Nathan, he's just sitting there screaming, ah! Because he can feel that his arms are getting shot, even though his arms aren't attached to him because he's the detachable kid. But so he falls to the ground, and he's like freaking out as he's dying. And Savant looks like he has a PTSD moment and just starts screaming and hightails it the fuck out of there. And Waller, of course, is watching this on a overhead, and it sees everyone where they are with their beacons that are also explosive to take them out in case they run. And she warns him as he continues to flee, and she activates his implant, and basically his head explodes. And a couple of scenes later, you'll see in the morning a little bird. Looks like the cousin of the one he killed in prison came back to get a little revenge and basically feeds off his neck stump. I don't ever think I've used neck stump in a sentence. Anyway, Waller then asked Team 2, as Team 1 is demolished, to move in. Team 2, you say? Whatever do you mean? So, this is led by Bloodsport. And Bloodsport's played by Idris Elba, who should have been the new James Bond, in my opinion. But, so they arrive on the beach on the other side of the island, and then we roll opening credits. Okay, so post-credits. Bloodsport, Dubois, is cleaning toilets, and he's in prison, by the way, and for basically putting Superman in the hospital by shooting him with the kryptonite bullet. His daughter visits him there, and basically they get in an argument, and they, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Basically, blah, blah, blah. And she got caught stealing a TV watch, or a watch that you can watch television on, and he's basically pissed that, not that she got caught, well, yeah, that she got caught, not that she was stealing. And he basically tells her next time have someone else with her so they can act as a distraction, and that way she won't get caught. And they have an argument, and of course, next thing you know, Waller is trying to leverage his daughter's prison time, jail time, however you want to call it, and saying that she could have a rough time, etc., blah, blah, blah. And he, of course, comes at her a la Joker, but also kind of John Wick-ish, with a pen right to her neck. And, of course, there's everyone surrounding him with gun's already drawn and cocked and ready to go, and she, of course, tells him to stand down because most likely if they shoot, they'll get her too. She's not really concerned about the other dude, but she's got a mission and a job to do, and getting shot would basically put a kink in those plans. So what else are you going to do? So he reluctantly agrees to do the gig. Waller then moves on to the intros for DeBoe's teammates. The first is Christopher Smith, Peacemaker. Same background is explained as Bloodsports, but, yes. Well, why are you getting him if you've got the same background? Basically, he had a father who was a soldier who trained him to kill from a very young age. Instead of being abusive, he was pro-violence? Well, it's still abusive, but, I guess it's that whole nature versus nurture thing. But, they have a douchebaggy who's got the bigger dick, who's better battle, which is really entertaining, making fun of the big dick contest they always have in these action flicks as of, the past 20 years or, maybe going back to the 80s and even earlier than that. And who knows? Anyway, so then comes King Shark, Anoa'i, voiced by the legendary Sylvester Stallone. Hey, what you doing over there? This is great. This is perfect casting. Now, he was in James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and as you see in his films, he always uses people repeatedly. His brother plays two parts in this as well. He plays the Weasel, and he plays Calendar Man, which I'll talk about later because that is just incredibly funny. Getting back to Sylvester Stallone, growing up, Rocky came out. I was a little kid. Then Rocky 2, 3, through 174 came out. But Sylvester Stallone, even though he won the Academy Award for that script that he wrote, they basically gave him a bum rap that he was, just a musclehead. Hey, I don't know nothing. I don't know how to talk. There's a character he played, and it basically stuck with him. But I'm sure he left all the way to the bank. And his first, I think his first 12 movie out, he didn't really speak that much at all. I mean, he had the First Blood films and the Rocky films and a few other ones before, he wavered a little bit. Anyway, but I think it's great for Sylvester Stallone to poke a little fun at himself and also extend the big middle finger to the entertainment media that gave him shit for so long. Most of those people, of course, are retired and have moved on and doing something else, but he's still making films. Funny that. Then we have Cleo Cazzo, Ratcatcher 2, who they walk past, basically in order to get to her, they have to walk through the women's part of the prison, and the guys from the team get catcalled by the women inmates. And I think that's pretty funny to make fun of that trope. And but it's not only a trope, it happens in real life. A friend of mine was actually commenting that she shouldn't be getting catcalled at her age and her disposition or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, they're catcalling you because you're good looking, not just because they weren't making fun of you. So, but still, guys, don't do that shit. Come on. What are you, raised in a freaking barn or something, for Christ's sake? Anyway, so Cazzo always seems like she needs sleep. DeBoe is frightened by Cazzo's little rat that she has on her shoulder, and is basically her superpower is that she can communicate with rats. Then we have Abner Krill Polka Dot Man, who is immediately fucking heckled by Calendar Man in the hallway by James Gunn's brother. Oh my God. Tanting with... Oh. This is one of the funniest... this is just hilarious. When he started taunting him with, "Hey, Polka Dot Man! I was hoping you could entertain my kid's birthday party, you fucking pussy!" That was fucking hilarious. Oh my God. I don't think me and my son Seth have laughed that fucking hard at a movie in a long time. Just, pure just guffaw. I thought it was fucking hilarious because, that's something guys say to each other all the time, when you're shit given, da-da-da-da. That's just the way it is. So all those people who are the language police, this does happen. Oh, my God. Isn't it driving you insane that someone's doing that and saying that? Oh, my God. How dare they have fun and make jokes? Moving on. Okay, so then they have the mission briefing. The timeline jumps around a little bit. And basically, they described this building called Jotunheim. It's a building built by the Nazis way back when, and the current leaders. Anyway, so it's been known as operating with Project Starfish, and apparently Starfish is an extraterrestrial, or is extraterrestrial in origin, and their job is to infiltrate Jotunheim and destroy any trace of the program. So now we go back where the Team 2 lands in the beginning of the film. They land on the beach. And we say, Harley talking with the dying Javelin as he instructs her to take the Javelin and give it to, and then he dies. Pisses her off. He didn't finish her sentence, so he starts slapping him in the face and stuff. The comedy in this is really good. I like Harley Quinn's accent in this one. She seems to wander with that in previous ones, but of course, directors probably have a little bit to do that. I actually like Harley Quinn in this movie more than any other screen appearance that I've seen so far. So it looks like she had a lot of fun with it. But so she starts slapping him in the face and stuff, and then Polka Dot Man is basically puking up some dots. Because he has to relieve himself of these dots twice a day or he can basically die. But meanwhile, Team 2 is trying to get some rest, and that's why, he's basically trying not to bother anyone when he's throwing up his polka dots. And when he comes back, King Shark basically has Kazo ready to shove in his mouth and eat, and Bloodsport disables him with this massive shotgun. And basically multiple blasts before Kazo surrounds him with his rats and basically puts him in line. They make friends. He's never had friends before. I've never had a friend before. And one of the best responses ever, and I'm sure 20 years from now, they're going to be quoting this as a Sylvester Stallone quote. And so she's like, "Oh, you wouldn't eat your friends, would you?" And he goes, "No." Oh my God, hilarious. Anyway, I think King Shark was a really good character in this. They've done him on The Flash on the CW. They did a good job there too, but James Gunn has a thing about making these oddball characters really endearing, and you buy into them. I mean, the whole thing's outlandish, but it had to start being outlandish from the very get-go, and then basically, wow, okay, you're getting a comic book movie. It's a comic book movie, people. This isn't Shakespeare, I only cover things that I enjoy or tolerate even sometimes. But if I dislike something, I'm not going to cover it. There seems to be a lot of people out there that, they just live in the negative zone, and it's just negative, bitching about everything. Surprisingly, I haven't heard too much bitching about this, but there's still those select few who all they can do is find the negative and dig it out and, make the scab bigger by picking at it. I'm just glad they're making these movies, man. I'm not going to spend my time sitting at this desk missing out on life complaining. I'm going to be like, hey, see this movie? Go check it out. Oh my God, wasn't that good? Yes. I can't do. I don't understand people discussing films without being able to discuss the film either. That's just kind of weird. But I'd rather talk to you after you've seen it, not before, because that's why you're a film fan. Anyway, what do I know? So then Waller's basically heard over the communication device that Flag has been captured by the guerrilla fighters in the area. The team makes quick on killing all of them in the camp. And then they bust in to rescue Flag as he's sitting there sipping tea with the leader. And Bloodsport's like, "Are you drinking tea?" So the group was friendly and apologies were made, basically, because the Suicide Squad elegantly and kind of in a contest to see who could get the best and easiest kills were just slaughtering all of the freedom fighters and then having to apologize. But I just thought that was funny. Anyway, so the leader of the group basically tells they have to meet this guy, Gaius Greaves, who's the Thinker, played masterfully by Peter Capaldi. I love the quirkiness of this character. It's almost a wink, or maybe more than a wink. Maybe this is how he wanted to play the Doctor when he was playing Doctor Who. Hopefully we can get a new Doctor in here, kind of jazzes it up a little and doesn't check boxes, just tells great stories, because that's what the fans are looking for, is great stories. They don't care. They didn't care before. Anyway, so his mannerisms in this movie is really funny, okay? So then we have the General of Corto Maltese and the Presidente basically have to bring him on their team, as he's been as he's been working with the Starfish program for 30 years, an extraterrestrial the U.S. space program discovered, as they see on the videotape that they play, and basically experimented on it for 30 years. Harley Quinn is seen in a pit, tied up, and all of a sudden, sunlight appears and a dress is thrown down to her. And before you know it, she's in a limousine and she's getting her hair and makeup done by people on both sides. And she is taken to be introduced to the president, who comes out of a pool in a nut hugger swimsuit, kind of like they used to do in James Bond, where the chick would come out of the pool slowly, walking up the steps, or the Central Baytan commercials, whatever. So anyway, that was kind of another trope that they're making fun of from the 60s and 70s movies that this seems to be based on. So they flip it on its head in a humorous way anyway. And we then go to a montage of an abstract nature as the president and Harley Quinn start flirting with each other, and they're saying that they have feelings, and he wants to marry her, and they wind up breaking vases and tearing paintings and breaking furniture before basically having sex on the floor and, making it a good day. The president, however, makes a remark as he's looking out the window about anyone who talks bad about the new president, their family, kids, partners, and anyone they've ever loved will be fed to the beast, which they're talking about Operation Starfish. At that point, he turns around only to hear a gunshot and looks down and sees a hole in his chest, and it's starting to bleed because Harley Quinn fucking shot him. Seemed she saw a red flag there, and she promised herself when she saw a red flag she would just kill her boyfriend. She wouldn't, ignore the warning signs. Hey. Personal philosophy is to each its own. Not mine, but what are you going to do? So Polka Dot Man falls down in the dirt, which basically falls on top of a credit title. As in all throughout this movie, the titles are made up either of maybe fire or trees, roots, part of the environment around them. So basically, Polka Dot Man and the Rat Lady are tired and they need a friggin' rest. Obviously, they're the least in peak physical condition. They're the furthest away from that out of anyone in the group. And John Cena, his character, Peacemaker, comedically states, damn hobbyists, like they're out here just, as a hobby, they don't really. Anyway, I thought that was pretty funny because in action movies, you never see people get tired, and a little realism never hurts and also adds to the comedic slant to it. Anyway, so they get into Polka Dot Man's background in the past with his mother, who worked for Star Labs and who basically experimented on, himself and his siblings, and some of them died, some of them lived. But basically, this guy has massive issues with his mother, and the way he's able to take people out is that he basically looks at him like it's his mother, and he looks back at the whole Suicide Squad, and all their characters have the mom's face on it, and whoever that lady was who played Mom, I'm sorry, I should probably look that up. Let's give her some kudos here. Let's see, where is she? Let's see if we can find Ma here. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. And of course she's not listed, but she did a great friggin' job, and it was hilarious. And, good on her. So, basically, major mommy issues, and that's how he deals with the bad situations. The people he kills, he sees his mother in them, literally. And then we meet Milton, a new character, a regular guy, who is driving a truck and is stopped by the military guards and asked for papers. Obviously, he's kind of new to this, and he kind of freaks out. And once the federality, they're not federales, they're, the army, the guards start questioning him, getting nervous, and want to search the truck, and all of a sudden, people start getting whacked left and right, and DeBow comes to the window and is like, "You, Milton?" As Milton is basically crying, trying to hold it together in a comedic fashion. Now, this guy reminded me of, was it Thor's roommate in one of the Marvel shorts, and also kind of akin to Deadpool's, the guy that they hired. It was Deadpool, wasn't it? The guy that they hired to be on the crew. He just needed a job. He wasn't a superhero. He was just a regular guy. I think was his name Gary? I don't remember. Too many of these movies now. It's all, kind of going into one sometimes. So they all climb aboard what basically looks like a tourist van. Ratcatcher 2 and DeBow start talking about their past. Now, Ratman 1, her dad, was played by Wakiti from Marvel fame. He's another talented director for sure, and actor, writer. So DeBow recounts how his dad would lock him in crates for 24 hours at a time, filled with starving rats, and that's kind of why he has an aversion to rats, and they make his skin crawl. Her, on the other hand, was loved by her dad, and the rats even kept them warm at night and brought them trinkets. But hey, what are you going to do? So anyway, so they get to the club, and of course they start having a few drinks, and they're dancing. The military shows up. DeBow is walking away with the Thinker out of the club, which he has a gun stuck to his side. And Peter Capaldi just cracks me up in this role. Anyway, so the troops start herding club goers or ask for the, where are the Americans, Well, basically, DeBow says, gives himself up as the American, and then Rick Flag and Peacemaker's like, what do you mean you're giving us up? We're giving ourselves up. So they each get arrested, all three of them get arrested and taken away as Polka Dot and Kazo basically get the Thinker out of the club through the back door as the troops are distracted. So they get him out of the club successfully, and a fun joke about shoving small animals up the thinker's ass, and his response was like, I think you might be expecting a different answer than I'm going to give. Peter Capaldi again. He did great in this. Okay, so then we cut to Rick Flag and Peacemaker, and with Deadshot, and Deadshot is basically, what did I just call him? Bloodsport is telling the story about the death touch, a single blow kill, and the soldier across from him is like talking about it like it's some kind of mythic thing, and they're all looking around, like, they all obviously know the move because there's 3 guards, and next thing you know, all 3 of them do the death blow and kill their guards, and Peacemaker blasts a hole through the wall in the driver's head that's driving the truck, and next thing you know, they're flipping over and over, and the squad comes out of the wrecked vehicle, and the tourist bus just happens to pull up right where they are done tumbling. Very convenient, but it's a comic book movie. It's supposed to entertain, not make sense. But, and then we go back to Harley Quinn, who is now chained up to the ceiling and being tortured by the general and some flunkies. And she makes a big bad joke about while she's being strung up, tased, and tortured. And then she starts singing I Ain't Got Nobody, I'm Just a Gigolo by Louis Prima. Slowly and with humor. The squad then moves into the city because they have come to rescue Harley Quinn. But Harley being Harley, next thing you know, breaks the guy's neck with her legs as he's texting, and snaps his neck, grabs the keys with their toes, which is fucking hilarious because my family's got a thing about using their toes for doing things. That's kind of funny. So she grabs it, boom, unlocks the lock with her toe, and next thing you know, she grabs a pair of combat boots and a sidearm, and Harley is ready to kick ass. In a dramatic and humorous flair. So she winds up in this room that's basically octagonal shape, and it's got it's got a bunch of doorways leading into it, and each with guards being shot, in slow motion. She's got, 2 sidearms now, pow, pow, pow. The room is almost exactly like the room from the first Max Payne video game, if you any video game fans out there. The Max Payne boss level, when they're trying to get out of the building downtown, and you're in an octagon room, and you have all these doorways feeding into the one center. It's kind of like a boss level. That's what it reminded me of, and I enjoyed it very much. It's funny to see video games now influencing how movies are made. First video game we had in our house was fucking Pong, and then the Atari, before it was the Atari 2600. And, other people in the family had Activision or Intellivision, and what was some of the other ones? Texas Instruments had another crappy one. But I grew up on Pitfall and Pac-Man and all that kind of crap, Tempest. But it was very reminiscent of Max Payne, which I wish they would have done a better job at that movie, and I think they should remake that movie and maybe have James Gunn do it. But anyway, what are you going to do? So then Harley runs out of ammunition, so what do you do next? You go right to hand-to-hand combat. And like I said earlier, I really like this version of Harley Quinn. She's a badass in this, and she uses what the room has to her advantage. And the gore is extreme and gratuitous. In fact, it's fucking glorious. We want to see this kind of shit, and we know it's not real, and that's why we want to see it. We don't want to see realistic things like that all the time necessarily. I'd rather have this, a suspension of belief in knowing that, hey, this is a movie, and that's not real blood, and therefore, but, Anyway, so the second she goes into full-on two-fisted machine gun fire, because she was done kicking people's asses down the hallway, so then she went to another room, and, of course, picks up 2 automatic weapons, machine guns. So you basically see her fire, and her, as she's firing these weapons, you basically see her her psychosis of innocence bloom as she's doing this, as she's in her element, and it's in the form of flowers and birds and bullshit that are flowing behind her, again, in an abstract way, kind of like when, she was banging the president. But, and I don't say that in a bad way. So showing the external action accompanied by what seems to be going on in her head in order to do what she does, that's her coping mechanism, I think, that he was showing us. It was kind of interesting to see both of those things happening at the same time, the duality of Harley Quinn, the pink and the black, and, that whole thing. She is a Batman character, after all. It's all about duality in Batman. But anyway, so she finds the javelin, of course, and the javelin's right there leaning up against the wall, and it's lit up like a kind of like a weapon or a token that you would find in, like, the Mario Brothers or something. Again, another video game nod. She then proceeds to take out another batch of baddies, impaling, stabbing, slicing, and using brute force. The Harley way. The squad arrives with the flag and Bloodsport, and they're about to climb up the wall a la Batman and Robin from Batman 66, the TV show. And Harley, of course, is right behind him asking, hey, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, we're here to rescue you. And she, freaks out and, gets all emotional. Not freaks out. She gets all emotional in a good way, happy that they were actually coming to break her out. No one has ever done anything so nice as to come and break her out of, being tortured. Her ex-boyfriend, Puddin', apparently wouldn't do that. Okay, so I want to stop for a minute and give kudos here to the costumes, the costumers, the art department, props, effects. This movie looks great. Cinematography, the direction seems fine. The actors are all fun, and it seems like they're having fun. And no one's taking it, so serious, even though they're doing their jobs and doing them well. I just wanted to take a second to shout out to the crew, because these movies that we all love, it's only so many people who know what they're doing who can make it look the way that it does. And, the crews are often forgot. It's not the person in front of the lens, it's everyone else around them that makes the movie the movie. But kudos to my brothers and sisters out there working on crews everywhere around the world. So, the Thinker. They use the Thinker as bait to get them into Jotunheim. And he is let through the guards, and even though he's driving the stolen tourist van that they stole, and they just let him go. And the sun is shining really bright, okay, so it's kind of probably before noon, and it starts to pour rain, okay, it's just pouring. And you know how you get that blinding kind of light when the sun's out, the sun's in your eyes, and it's raining, everything has this blinding effect. Well, the van pulls up to the main building, and they're kind of squinting to see what's going on. And, of course, you get the a la animated Justice League walk out. Everyone, again, in slow-mo, doing that walk. And, the guards are squinting. They're struggling to see who's walking up on them. And, remember, this place is heavily fortified. It's got, a whole army around it. And so they're not really expecting someone to walk up to the gate at Jotunheim, the front doors basically, because they've already gotten through the front gate. And so Bloodsport blood sport. Shoots his arm arrow into the first soldier's eyes, and it goes right through his glasses. Of course, you hear the little tink of his lens shattering. Soldiers are dropping left and right before they realize that they're basically under attack. King Shark grabs this guy and basically rips him apart in slow motion. Peacemaker jams Thinking Man's face into the eye scanner twice to open the door. That's pretty funny. I've always wanted to see that happen. Anyway, so they make their entry and they start planting explosives everywhere. The rats, of course, are under orders from Ratcatcher 2, and they're basically systematically taking out all the video feeds and video cameras by chewing their wires on the outside of the building so the people inside can't see what's going on the outside. So basically, so now they're in the building, okay, and they come across a bunch of people in, you always, in every movie like this, you always have the prison scene and, or the captive scene. So these are townspeople held captive and they all have starfishes on their faces, okay? And they're asking them in unison, have you come to save me? Like a hive mind, everyone saying the same thing, okay? And then basically asking if they're going to save him from the man who's been experimenting on them for the past 30 years. So then the thinker then goes, I call it Starro the Conqueror, which is a character from the first, I believe, Justice League comic, and it's usually associated with Superman. It's made a bunch of appearances in animated form, and to tell you the truth, it's one of the most annoying fucking characters that DC has. I can't stand it. I always think it's a waste of screen time for animation because we only get so many of those episodes. And this is as they were airing, not now, but, that's how much I love this movie. I love it a lot. That's what's weird. I despise Starro, the character, and I cannot stand it in the slightest. Well, and there he is, front and center. No one will do Starro again like Gunn, and they won't try. That's kind of what makes me happy about this, is that we would never have to see it again, but I actually didn't mind Starro and the way that James Gunn did it. But it just, you can't have that kind of character if you're in a more serious story. You have to be in a suspended belief tale. Otherwise, it just comes off as weird, even though, what do we know of aliens? But, part of what was, I don't know. I think this will be the only time we see this villain appear on the screen is in this movie. So thank you, James Gunn, but still, I fucking love this movie. We see Starro behind a circular window now. Okay, it's like an observation thing. We only see one of its, star legs, tentacles, whatever you want to call it. Because this thing is massive, so we haven't seen Starro in the shape and size that he is now, just when he was on the spaceship. So we're getting a sense of scale when we see that big tentacle hit the window there. Thinker and Flag all work for the same master, according to the Thinker. This is after all an American program. So the Thinker basically tells Flag that, hey, we're working for the same masters. You're basically here to clean up this mess. Because of a coup, we're wasting 30 years of research. We both work for the U.S. government. And what do you think about that? So Flag gets really pissed because he has that thing called integrity that no one has anymore. And so he decides that he wants to take that hard drive. But first, people are like, wait a minute. Why would that be well, see, you take these government programs and you go off country. You don't have to follow the rules if you're in another country. You know what I'm saying? So, like for instance, here's a real life example, the program MK Ultra, which the U.S. government worked on in the 50s, 60s, and into the 70s before they got busted. And there was 1,800 programs going around at the same time at that point in time. One of them involved a group of people in Canada because they could experiment on them outside of the boundaries of American law. And they wound up suing and winning a lawsuit against the United States government for being experimented on. So all these people that have gone disappearing in the Court of Maltese were actually being tested on to see if they could survive, how they react, what happens if you cut these people in half, if they still have the star on them, are they still alive, are they still a drone, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, it is nasty because, as you know, Jotunheim started as a Nazi research base, and why would anything change? Just put a new label on it, and everyone seems fine with it. We'll call it something else. Oh, once you call it something else, hey, it doesn't have that bad baggage attached to it, even though they're doing the same damn thing that they were doing before, but it's got a new name. Well, just so happens they didn't change this name. They still call it Jotunheim, but you know what I'm saying. Same shit, different century, really, if you think about it. So back to Flag. So he's squeamish of the cost. Flag goes off and grabs a hard drive out of the computer, and he wants to share the story with the world. He turns around to a cocking gun being pointed right at his face by Peacemaker. Waller. Of course Waller had a side mission for the Peacemaker, and that is for the information to be destroyed. And Waller basically gave the directive to Peacemaker, if they don't destroy it, you need to destroy it at all costs. So destroy what's ever in your way, even if that's Mr. Rick Flag. And so you kind of get a feel that this guy's a fucking prick. But, part of the Suicide Squad stories, what makes them great, man, is deception and double cross. And that's why we love the Suicide Squad, because that is always an interesting dynamic, and you never know who's going to double cross who or in what form it's going to take shape. You may have an idea. You may think. You may be wrong, you may be right, but it doesn't matter because the Suicide Squad, they're always fun tales for me anyway. I always enjoy it, whether it's comic books, animated. Even the CW version I didn't mind. I don't know what happened to the Arrowverse after Amel left, or what happened to the year before. Anyway, but seems we're getting a new slew of those shows. But, just word came down that Gunn is going to direct another film for DC after Guardians 3 for Marvel, that he's going to pop back. But he got a raw deal over at Marvel. He just wants to wrap up his thing, call it a day, and then go work for the competition and stomp Marvel. And for some reason, Warner Brothers actually let James Gunn make the movie he wanted, not the ones that the bean counters and the suits wanted to make. This is brutal. It's an R-rated. It's a gamble, but I think James Gunn is a talented guy, especially when it comes to geek culture stuff. He understands it. He's part of it. That's why, I don't know, some of the movies before that came before, even, you don't put a non-science fiction fan to direct a science fiction movie. You just don't do it. You don't put a non-comic book fan to direct a comic book movie. It just doesn't why would you do that? It's like, oh, hey, you're a great football player? Yeah. Hey, you want to direct a movie about fishing? Say what? Bobby? Damn it, get down. Dad, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Anyway, you get what I'm trying to say, though, don't you? Or am I just reacting to apparently the edibles that were not just regular cookies? I may be adding that for comedic effect, but you never know. So the explosions started going off above, and that's leading to some structural issues, basically. The drive has taken the program offline. Security measures are dropped. The ceiling collapses. The dust clears. The thinker looks to the round observation window that I mentioned earlier. It is now broken and wide open. Seconds later, the thinker gets a sci-fi monster movie proper death. After saying, "What have you done?" he is then grabbed, dragged down the hall, down into the monster's pit, put in front of his big ol' eye, and splits his body in half before throwing half of the body against another observation window where his body is then liquefied against the bulletproof glass due to the force and velocity that his body was thrown upon the window. Anyway. And that's what wakes up the Peacemaker. Peacemaker looks up. Rick Flag is next to him, pulling out a steel shank from his side, kind of by his kidney. Flag then grabs the hard drive, and the fight sequence begins. Now, they do this extended shot, or scene, whatever, action sequence, fight sequence, with the Peacemaker's helmet is serving as the reflective surface, and you're seeing the action off of the reflection of the helmet. Now, that's pretty cool. That's been done in movies, going way back, but you just haven't seen anything like that in a long time, and it was kind of cool to see that they would actually take the risk of doing that, because everyone wants to see the muscle guys, pound it out and, break bones and all that kind of shit. And it was cool and very comic book-esque. Like I said, it's a comic book movie. The gore and the gratuitous violence in this is over the top and suicidal, because they're the Suicide Squad. Hello? But, yeah, that was fun to watch. So anyway, so Flag is thrown around for a while, and he's fighting back as he grabs a steel floor drain. It's like, 3 feet by 9 inches wide, 3 feet long, 9 inches wide, and like an inch thick, and is just pounding the Peacemaker with this fucking thing. And, the fight dwindles down to a brutal fashion. Flag is trying to kill Peacemaker with the steel pipe now by his throat, and Peacemaker grabs a piece of broken porcelain from the shitter Flag was thrown into and shattering. And basically, he stabs him right in the fucking heart, as we see from the shots that happen inside his rib cage, and you get to see the heart and the piece go into it. And then the Peacemaker hammers it one time, like, chink, right into his heart, which is now just gushing blood. They just killed Rick fucking Flag. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, I don't know. You think they're gonna? Man, if he stays dead, that's a bummer. I'd like to see Rick Flag in other things other than the Suicide Squad. But I'm just a fan of the actor who plays Rick Flag. I've watched him in what is that? It's the Apple Plus movie or Apple TV movie series. It's about the NASA space program, but it's really good. And anyway, what the hell do I know? But yeah, Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flag. He's usually pretty good in whatever he does. He shows up, suits up, does his work. And, it's always good stuff anyway. Anyway, so the Peacemaker apologizes, and you can see he feels remorseful. And Flag's last words are, Peacemaker, what a joke. Then Peacemaker looks over and he sees Ratcatcher 2 had crawled through this tunnel, or not tunnel, like the wreckage, and sees the hard drive, and she grabs it. And now Peacemaker has to kill her and retrieve the information. Is he going to kill a teenage girl? Let's hope not. Then a title card happens 8 minutes earlier, So the charges are set on each floor. King Shark finds an aquarium where he thinks he's this huge aquarium. It's like the whole floor. And he thinks that basically he's met these new little cute fish that are in this huge aquarium, and he's playing with them and running around, and they're following him. And he's like, oh, new friends. Very, very cute scene. But anyway, so then the Suicide Squad goes into the office area, okay? Polka Dot Man drops a couple of packages. I really couldn't make out what it was at first. And then he bends down to grab them, and the guards fire. There's 2 guards in the room. Pop, 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 pop. And basically, they just fucking shot Milton. And Polka Dot Man responds by killing the guards with his dots of death. And, they killed Milton. Harley doesn't know who Milton is. She's like, who's Milton? And then Bloodsport didn't even know he was still there. And Polka Dot Man thought he was helping, So apparently what Polka Dot had dropped was C4 explosive charges, okay? So as he finds out, as he sends more dots of death to take out the 10 new guards that just show up, okay? So the dots basically also detonate the C4 that are in front of these new guards, setting off a chain reaction of other C4 packs, which basically go down the stairwells, and then they a chain reaction, they start lighting off all the other C4 they had planted on multiple levels of that building. So anyway, so the aquarium breaks, and it's shattering, and the office floor below is filled with water, and then you see King Shark and his new buddies, who turn out to be fucking alien piranhas or some shit, because they all attack his ass, and basically he's freaking out that he's been betrayed by his quote-unquote new friends, or newer friends. His new friends are there fighting side by side. Okay, so the tower breaks in half, but it's still standing. Okay, so King Shark falls to the ground after fighting off these piranhas, these alien piranhas. He basically falls out when the tower crashed and tilted. He fell out a hole in the wall, and they basically kind of think he's dead, so they start, or maybe he isn't, so they start shooting him with automatic weapon fire, but he's bulletproof and all, so it just annoys him. And now they fire at Harley and Dubois. King Shark, while they're doing this, stands up, he's pissed off, and he basically goes right for the head, like the captain of that group or whatever, and he basically literally bites his head off. The building starts to fall. Harley Quinn finds her javelin, of course, as it's rolling down, and you hear it clink, 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 clink. Oh, hi! And Bloodsport and Polka Dot, along with Harley, run for their life. As the building falls to the ground, they run the opposite way. They leap across, of course, at the last second and jump to safety. Well, except for Bloodsport. He had to do a little bit of work in order to get that. So what happens is he drops and he falls onto a floor, and then that sinks to another floor and another floor and another floor. So it's like the old cartoon. So 6 floors, I think, he lands on. And the Peacemaker, we go back to the Peacemaker, who's got that gun drawn on Ratcatcher 2, and he's about to kill her as the guy has the gun pointed at Rat Lady's face. Now, Bloodsport sees this, and he had mentioned earlier how Ratcatcher 2 reminded him of his daughter. So he takes it personally. They both draw, and they fire at each other at the same time. Peacemaker, being the douchey big swinging dick, shoots his big-ass gun at Bloodsport, and midair, Bloodsport's smaller bullet rips apart Peacemaker's bullet, going inside of the lead tip shattering the round and prevailing into Peacemaker's neck, and drops to the ground. King Shark walks in, gnawing on a scalp, and waves in a friendly manner to his teammates. They really I love that. I love King Shark. Anyway, so the military assembles and falls in on the half standing tower. The squad is then seen comedically running out of the tower, not caring that the whole army is in front of them. They're just hauling ass trying to get away from this. The soldiers look past them, knowing they are in some deep shit. Moments later, a Godzilla-sized Starro blows the tower apart and starts releasing small, face-sized Starros as they take over as hosts to the unsuspecting bastards in the streets. Starro has broken free. As the area falls, the general removes his hat, now only waiting to be taken out, it seems. Not believing that this is the way he is going to die, all of the troops fall to the ground while the freedom fighters, 86, the military leaders of the failed coup, who are now in the president's palace, lying dead on the floor. The soldiers suddenly reanimate, and they speak through the general before all of them start screaming, which is pretty funny, all in unison. Basically said, the message is to the Suicide Squad, this city is mine, and they walk away from the Suicide Squad. Okay. Boom. What happened then? There was Ratcatcher 2 establishes communication with Waller's team, basically because something was in the building that was blocking the signal for communication. Fast forward, and they can now have communication and make it, plot convenient. Anyway, so Star leads to the city to destroy and kill basically all of its inhabitants and take it over. Ratcatcher 2 tells Waller that Starfish is headed to the city. Waller responds, if the records and Jotunheim are destroyed, the mission is complete. And then she states it's not her problem. Well, how do you think that went? Thousands of Starros at that moment are released from the big guy as he prepares to ravish the city. They start to walk away. Job's done. Hey, they're bad guys, remember? They're supposed to do. They get 10 years off their sentence. They can walk away. But DeBow and Ratcatcher 2 have a change of heart, and they start walking away from their teammates and heading towards the city, apparently off mission, according to Waller. The team all walk away in unison towards the city to see if they can stop this thing and save those people that are in harm's way. Waller freaks the fuck out, and basically she's calling them, you pieces of shit, motherfucker this, motherfucker that. And before she could hit the detonate button on the entire team, clink, Waller gets knocked the fuck out by one of her underlings. Team goes into action, assisting Task Force X, and otherwise known as the Suicide Squad, as they head in to the heart of the city, because it's ass-kicking time. We have another weapon callback, like we had the small bullet going inside the big bullet, and earlier in the first dick size competition, the going back and forth, they were saying, oh yeah, well I use a bigger gun because it leaves a bigger hole. Oh yeah, well I'm so good, my bullet goes inside the hole that you shot without even a trace. So that was a callback. This callback is back to when Bloodsport had to shoot King Shark a few times to make sure that he put down Ratcatcher 2 and not eat her, but the way that his guns manifest are pretty cool. They just, every time he pulls a weapon, it's usually different. And this thing was a Mongo version of what he used against the King Shark. Instead of it being a shotgun, it was like a grenade launcher, but to the same effect. And the throngs of citizens descend on them like zombies. That's when Bloodsport goes to King Shark, Anaru. Wrong name. Anyway, King Shark, Monster, Nom Nom, Monster, Nom Nom. And, of course, I laugh my ass off at that because I think it's one of the best characters in the movie. And Bloodsport inspires the whole team to take action. HQ, or Harley Quinn, you take the high ground. He enlists Polka Dot Man to do his best as the monster Starro is his mother. Sorry, bad English accent. He just said, hey, just imagine it's your mom, and that's all you got to do. So his 60-foot mother is now really standing in front of him and in his eyes destroying these buildings, doing all this stuff, all this damage. So he uses his dots of death by taking out one of his mother's legs by basically Achilles tendon, and with all his polka dots basically severs her foot from her body. And in the movie reality, it takes out one of Starro's legs and hinders him quite a lot. And so after winning the day, much to his surprise, he's celebrating. And Polka Dots, he's like, I'm a superhero. And then wham! Crushed by comedic death. Good punchline. He wanted to die anyway. That's what he said in the briefing room when he was sitting next to Bloodsport watching the film. But the way that they use death in this, it's like deaths to be celebrated because they're funny. It's not gratuitous. It's not serious. It's a fucking comic book movie. But I thought the way that he went out was good. I'm surprised that, as weird character as Polka Dot Man is that he made it all the way through the movie, where stronger characters, maybe not, you thought would have survived, longer than him. You would have thought that guy would have been taken out right away, but he wasn't. Great actor, by the way. So then we cut to DeBow and Ratcatcher 2, and they're both disabled below. He's out of ammo. She doesn't have any weapons except her, staff of rat communication. And the Starro zombies surround them. Okay, so Harley Quinn finds this great high spot. It's a wall of a building, and she's basically seen running off of this wall with the javelin, piercing Starro's big eye, and slamming it into the eye, inside of it, like she's diving into a pool. And we then see, at the same time, Ratcatcher is doing her thing, and millions of rats are descending on the city, crawling over them, not hurting them, and going right for Starro and basically devouring the alien creature. As Starro is dying, Harley's still in there. The general, who was speaking for Starro, states that he was just happy floating among the stars before collapsing and dying. Then you cut to Bloodsport's kid watching this on the news, and basically, she's happy to see her dad free these people and save the day, and then, of course, save the city. DeBow then blackmails Waller with their hard drive, basically, for their freedom. No one goes to jail, no one gets arrested, everyone's free, and Harley calls Harley calls Bloodsport Milton after saying that they could be freed. King Shark just wants to nom everyone as they're walking out past the dead body. So they're walking down the street. And he's like, nom nom? No, no nom nom. And he points this one, nom nom? No, no nom nom. No nom noms anytime. So thought that was funny. The way that they interacted with the fake creature seemed to be the most real buddy type of thing that I've seen with the digital. Even though the guy who plays Waller's communication guy with the beard, he actually was the body in the onset suit, so they had some, at least someone there to bounce off of. But, I thought that was done really well. So they make their getaway on the same plane as we saw at the beginning credits. Everyone is taking stock and relaxing. DeBow finally makes friends with the rat, and he starts petting it, and he's slowly relaxing, and you can almost see like his anxiety leaving his body, as he's, made friends with the ghost of his past, so to speak. And the Suicide Squad are now an official team, free from prison. Will they continue to work together, split up, do more, add people? Who knows? So then that goes to the credits, and mid-credits we see Weasel lying on the beach, dead still, days later, or the next day, whatever. And all of a sudden he comes back to life, spitting up water, like he'd just gotten on the beach and, and he wakes up, it's dark out, no one's there, and he kind of wanders off to weasel another day. Then we go to the post-credits scene, and it's a doctor talking with two of Waller's underlings, one the dude with the beard, and then the blonde lady. As it explains, they found Peacekeeper alive, and his heart is still beating. And they say it's basically revenge Waller has for them because she has saddled these two people with this douchebag as revenge for knocking her ass out and helping the Suicide Squad succeed in escape while saving the city. Then they ask, well, why do they need him? And the final line is, just to save the fucking world, that's all. Awesome. So that was my walkthrough and take review / commentary on The Suicide Squad by James Gunn. I fucking love this movie. I hope they give James Gunn every movie that he wants to make over there at DC, Warner Brothers. Hello, quit messing up. You got something, and even if this didn't make $1 kajillion, there's extenuating circumstances going on with the thing, with the bug and the new buggity bug of the bug. So people might not be apt to see it in the theater, whatever. But doesn't mean that it wasn't a quality film. It was a quality film. Give it a break. Give it another one. But anyway, so if you'd like to find any of my other content and check it out, like podcasts, blog, merchandise, and most importantly, books that are coming out at vaudevilleppress.com and vincentkustush.com. That's VINCENTKUSTUSH.com. You can get signed editions there of the Book of Vito Bupkis and Reboot Jesus, which are coming out shortly. Or if you're listening to this in the future, they're already out, and come on over and purchase one if you'd like. All are welcome in the Rebootiverse. And if you'd like to support CreatiVity, you can give me a cup of coffee if you'd like. Below, it's in the description. It'll take you there. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell if you're on YouTube. Come on back. And if you're listening to anyone else or watching anyone else and you like their podcast, give them a like. It helps everyone here. We're just independent creators, sometimes sitting in a room, living rooms all by ourselves, talking to a wall. But we do it because we're fans and we like this stuff. We want to celebrate it. That's what we do here at CreatiVity. We celebrate the creative mind and all the things the creative mind has to deal with, go through, and comprehend. Anyway, this is V signing off. Biff, you got anything else to say?
Nope. Let's get out of here. Go to the bar.
Well, you can go to the bar. I'm gonna get some ice cream. Anyway, that was the Suicide Squad. This is CreatiVity with V, episode 106. Thanks for joining us. And as always, may your coffee be warm, your couch be comfortable, and your naps be righteous. I call them surprise naps. But anyway, have a good day, everybody. And we will see you next time on CreatiVity.